AP Chem students, today we're going to be doing the chromatography lab for our chapter 11 unit. And what I've got set up here already, I've already drawn the markings on the chromatography paper. Notice I'm handling it by the edges, and I've labeled the top with the dye that we're going to use. I've got 4 different flasks set up here. I'm going to put 2 strips of the chromatography paper in each of the flasks. So I'm just going to do this all at once with the 7 different dyes, and then the last one will be the unknown. So I'm just going to use the isopropyl alcohol. I'm not going to run the test with the sodium chloride. Normally, if we were in class, half of the groups would use the isopropyl alcohol as the solvent, and the other half would use the sodium chloride as the solvent. But I like the isopropyl alcohol better. I think it's a better solvent for most of the dyes, so we're going to use that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go a little out of order. Like I said, I've already marked the chromatography papers, and now I'm going to go ahead and put 20 milliliters of the isopropyl alcohol, probably put a little bit more, into each of the flasks. Get those all ready first. Doesn't have to be exactly 20 milliliters, just enough. Cover the bottom of the flask. Okay, so I got that. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a toothpick to load the dye onto the chromatography paper. I've put a dot down at the bottom of the chromatography paper, and that's where the dye is going to go. So on this first one, this is blue number 1. So I'm just going to kind of hit it a few times to the dot. More just to make sure you've got a decent amount of dye on there. That one looks pretty good. And I'm going to do the same thing for blue number 2. Using a different toothpick. Thanks. Ooh, we've got some mold growing in blue number 2. Yuck. Okay, I won't show you that. That's pretty great. It's kind of, you can see the fuzziness. All right, yay. So again, I'm just gonna touch it quite a few times to load the dye on there. Yikes, I hope more like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these 2 in. And that's probably the trickiest part of all, is getting them in. What we don't want to happen is we don't want the dyes to get down underneath the 20 milliliters. We want the papers hanging so that they're touching the bottom, but we don't want, there we go, there. Can you see that okay? So I've got the bottoms of the chromatography papers touching the solvent, the isopropyl alcohol, but I don't want the dye submerged down in. So what's going to happen is the chromatography paper, as it sucks the isopropyl alcohol up, it's going to, once it reaches the dot where the dyes are, I'll turn it this way so we can see a little better, it'll start carrying the dye up along with it as the alcohol creeps up the top of the chromatography paper. So while that one's going, I'm going to continue on. This is yellow number 5. Oh, we got a toothpick in there. from last year. So this one's yellow number 5. Do the same thing. Load that up with dye. And then this one's yellow number 6. Yellow number 6 really looks more like orange. Hopefully I've got enough on there. That one really wasn't cooperating too well. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same thing with these two, put them down in the flask so that the bottom of the chromatography paper is submerged but not the dye. And that's kind of what the watch glass is for. It kind of helps. Oh, I almost lost yellow number 5. Ooh. Uh-oh. Come on. There we go. Okay, hopefully that will stay. That was close. Okay. And you can see already, if you look at the blues, the solvent front is now past the line. So it's starting to carry the blues with it. All right, then we've got the reds. So this one here is red number 3. Very good at staying on the dot, but that's okay. And then the other one is red number 40. Okay. See if I can do a better job at getting these in the flask. And this is probably the hardest part of it all. So making sure they're touching the solvent but not submerging the dye. All right, there we go. That one was got that pretty good. Okay, and then our last group is green number 3, and then our unknown. Okay, so there's green number 3. And then here's our unknown. If we were doing this in class, you'd each have a different unknown number to choose from. But we're just going to do unknown number 2. That doesn't really matter since you're not doing different ones. I know which one we're assigning. So let me mark that up just the exact same way as the others. That one's actually coming off pretty good. Move these over better so you can see them better, a little better. Okay, so same thing. Here we go with green and the unknown. This this is when it's really helpful to have a partner here so one can hold while the other one, there, that was pretty good. Okay, so we'll let those sit for a little bit. You can already see the blue is moving up. Here are the yellows. So you can see they're moving a little bit too. The reds are already going. And then give it some time. So we'll just chill for a little bit. Clean up my toothpicks. Maybe. So clean those up while we're waiting. I tell you what, I'll stop this now and then we'll come back and take a look at the results because some of these are going to take a little while. So let me go ahead and stop and then we'll come back and look at what these look like once they get further along.